best days of the year. Honestly, this first Sunday of NFL football. What does our guy Scott Hansen on the Red Zone say? 7 hours of commercial-free football coming up in just a little bit. Erik is here alongside Gino and we are ready to get you set up for NFL Sunday. We are going to be here every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. We'll be here for about an hour because on this show, Erik, we're able to give all the last-minute information, players that we know are in or that are out. A lot of those come in Sunday morning. So you and I do a show on Wednesday evening where we record. Then we do another show on Friday. But by Sunday morning, you have a lot more information. Props are out that aren't out earlier in the week. And we also have a better idea for DFS lineups, what we're going to look at. So we have a lot to talk about in this show every week for about an hour or so. NFL Betting Blitz presented by ParlayPlay.
I love one of the better days of the year. I mean, I guess the big thing is that you and your lady friend, have you had the discussion now? Like, hey,
yeah,
Sundays I'm going to be off for a little bit.
It's unfortunate. Yeah, I was gonna say she got to take Milo somewhere for some of the day while Dad's got NFL stuff early in the morning to do. But yeah, it's an absolute blast right now. We've had a couple weeks of college football already. We had a great opening game on Thursday where it was a little ugly in spots. Like both teams' offenses weren't flying on all cylinders, but wow, your Lions 1-0. You get a win against the Chiefs on the kickoff game. That's pretty cool. So you couldn't ask for a better start, right?
I'll tell you what, the thing that stood out to me in that was, God dang, if they only would have drafted Wilson,
the defensive, right?
Oh yeah. My God, that was brutal. Just watching that was the only thing that I was thinking.
Playing it out in your head.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it was fun. They, obviously, look, they won a game. Historically, is that a game they lose? Yeah. So let's build on it. Let's go from there. And, hopefully we can keep going. And they have Seattle next week.
Well, we don't have a whole lot of time to spend in the past because we are moving on into the future today, Sunday. 14 games on the slate. But Erik, before we get into the individual slate, we're going to go game by game. Talk to us about the sponsor of this show, the title sponsor of this show, ParlayPlay. I'm going to bring up their website here, and I want you to navigate through this a little bit. Tell us about ParlayPlay.
It's a great website, great place to bet. You can parlay player props. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go over here. We're going to click NFL. I have two of them that I absolutely like. The first one is you could search the players here, see what props they have. We're going to search out, if I can spell, we're not going to go Bijan. We're going to go Brian Robinson.
Okay.
And we're going to hit more 60.5. Thought process is this. Cards lost their best run defenders from last year. Their new front is graded insanely bad by PFF. Only 2 out of the 3 on the front have PFF grades. One is 125 out of 127. The other one is 115 out of 127. The coach, Gannon, who came over from Philadelphia, his team was historically bad last year defending the run. I expect, since the Commanders have a first-year starting quarterback at home, second, because he had that game against the Cowboys, but first game of the year, I think they're going to lean on that run game a little bit more. So I'm doing Robinson here.
Is there a reason why you prefer Robinson over Gibson of those two?
Just because Gibson's been practicing a lot with the special teams.
Okay. And just sort of coming off of last year, it wouldn't shock me if this was the year that Brian Robinson got more of the bell cow touches. Remember how his year started last year? He was behind the 8 ball. The guy got shot, right?
Yeah,
to start the year. He was completely out of it for a while. So it was a two-headed backfield last year. I don't think he was physically completely ready to go. It would not shock me if he takes over this year as the number 1.
I agree 100%. And Bieniemy does like leaning on the run game. Next one we're going to go to is we're going to come to Chicago, and we're going to go to Aaron Jones, but we're going to go.
I love this one.
The 22.5 yards receiving.
Absolutely love this one.
He's gone over the last 5 games he's played against the Packers with Watson being out and Dobbs possibly being on the snap count, he may not even play. Jones is going to be even more of a feature in the passing
Well,
game.
because you can use him there and still have Dillon go between the tackles, right? You could put the two of them on the field at the same time, split Jones out and have Dillon as your traditional running back.
Correct. And the Bears allowed 32.1 yards per game to opposing running backs in the pass game. Jones was second in the team last year in targets. So I'm going to go down here 3 times. We're going to place the bet. Boom. So it's a 3-1 ROI, risking 30 to get 90. Another thing this thing has, and Gino and I are going to be doing this free to play contest. So we're going to hit join here, and they have all these props, and the more you get right, the more you get points. So if we get this one right, we get 100 points. Bijan Robinson over 71.5 yards. Burnsy's hurt. I think they're going to struggle. I think they're going to struggle to stop the run. So we're going to take the over here. For 250, this one is a little bit more points because you have to guess how much Lamar is going to throw. Obviously, new system. He's going to look to throw the ball more. Him getting over 250, I think, would be a struggle. I think this game could be a little closer. I think the Raiders.
Well, no Mark Andrews too, right?
No Mark Andrews. Yep. So we are going to go 213 to 244.
So think about that. No Mark Andrews and new receivers there that he's not all that familiar with, and a new offensive coordinator. So if at the beginning of the first quarter, second quarter, you're not on your chemistry with everyone else isn't great, you start to lean on Mark Andrews, but he may not be there, right? So it may just be a little bit more difficult.
Exactly. Derrick Henry, look, I don't seem to sound like I'm chalky here. I just don't know. Saints are an old team. They're losing Davenport, which I think is huge to that front. I think Derrick Henry's just kind of being slept on, especially early in the year when he's healthy. So we're going to go over here. Next one is interesting. Big Russ Daddy. You know I am insanely high on this team. The Raiders, no Chandler Jones, so they're going to be missing one of their elite pass rushers. I say 271 to 305.
Going with the Russ bus, driving. Now, I'll ask you just a question that has less to do with parlay play than it does with overall. Are you pairing with Watson today if you put Russ in DFS or with Sutton today? Because he seems like he's going to be the mouth that gets fed quite a bit in that offense.
Yeah, if you're playing the millionaire maker and you're looking to piggyback, I would say do piggyback those two together.
Sutton and Russ Wilson. Yeah. What else you got for us here, Erik?
Next one, we got Jalen Hurts plus 250 points if you get this one right. I think they're going to look to take away his running ability. I think they're going to make the pass. I'm going to go 274 to 309 here. And next one, you know what? I'm going to say more here just because I think the Seahawks are going to struggle to stop the run, just to run the ball against the Rams. So I'll go more than over 65.5 yards receiving for
Metcalf.
Now here's one. Justin Fields plus 2. I'm going to go 160 to 194. There's some rain coming in the area when I went on my run this morning out here in the Chicagoland area. Gray skies, man. Gray skies. We could get some rain here, wet ball. And
so would you even think about with those two? So you're talking about possibilities. Like if you're putting together a DFS lineup and you need a really cheap defense, would you think about throwing either of those defenses in, like the Bears or the Packers, because they might be playing against another offense that's not necessarily fantastic in wet weather? You could see maybe Jordan Love with a couple turnovers, right? Or in wet weather like that, not having his wide receivers to go to. And no one would lean on the Bears defense. Maybe on the flip side too, maybe you go Packers. They have a strong defense. And would those be teams you target maybe because of the weather?
I would target those guys a little bit in DFS because the Commanders are cheap this week. They're going to be the chalk defense. If you want to pivot, those are two good options. Aaron Rodgers here, over under 250.5 yards passing. No Von Miller. But I think at the end of the day, this Jets team's going to look to run the ball. So I'm going to take under 250, 2.5. Hit submit here. Boom. Gino, we are in, man.
We are in every single week. We will be talking about NFL. We will be talking about parlay play right here on NFL Betting Blitz. We'll give you some plays. We'll get into this contest. Next week, I'll be sharing some of my thoughts as well. We just wanted to let Erik set it up for you on week 1. And don't forget, all of you can play, and all of you need to use the promo code NFL Betting Blitz. When you sign up, they'll put some cash right into your account, and you can be playing right away.
Nice little deposit match.
Right there, you're good to go. And we are good to go to NFL Week 1. Let's talk Sunday slate of games that is a little over an hour and a half away from us, Erik. We are going to dive on into game number 1, which on the DRF Sportsbook website is Arizona at Washington. And this one, Erik, is probably going to be a very popular survivor pick for a lot of people this week, I think, because you've got Arizona, who is a team that has 2 quarterbacks that we don't know a whole lot about, and Washington, while they will be without Chase Young, they do still have a strong defense. I mean, this is a big number for Washington to be laying. It's kind of it's trickled down now. Maybe some of that Chase Young money, because this was about 7 a few days ago.
Yeah.
We're looking at 6.5 right now. Would you be involved in this game anyway?
If this gets to 7, I'd be in.
I'm probably staying away. I think I told you I have Washington. I'm in a couple survivor pools. I have Washington on a few of them. I just don't think the number is big enough, but I feel like defensively they should still be able to win the game. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of creative stuff to tell you about this game in particular. It's probably going to be one of the uglier games. Like, Washington has a pretty tough schedule, and Rivera is a little bit on the hot seat with Bieniemy coming in. So I feel like they're going to at least try to have a good start to the season against some of these, right? Like,
Rivera, only 41% ATS is a favorite too. So, I mean, that's a big number for Sam Howell. And, you know, as bettor is one of the things we look at, who's Sam Howell to be laying almost a tutty?
Nobody.
No.
Shouldn't be happening right now in the National Football League. Not a whole lot to talk about this first game. If you want to get involved over at DRF Sportsbook, if you're looking for a place to play, if you're in the state of Iowa, you need to sign up right now for a DRF Sportsbook account. You can see the promo code FAST350 will get you all the way up to a $350 deposit match bonus. So if you're in Iowa, if you have any friends, family that are there, let them know it's football time and you can get involved over at DRF Sportsbook. Erik, let's move to the Panthers at the Falcons. This is my DFS defense for today for Atlanta. I think a lot, and I actually have Atlanta in a few of the leagues that I'm in, the season-long leagues. I just waited till the very end to draft the defense, and I picked up Atlanta's because I knew at least week 1 they'd be playing this Carolina team with a bad offensive line, a rookie quarterback, question marks on the receivers, and this Atlanta defense has really improved, Erik. I don't think enough people are giving Atlanta's defense the credit in the offseason for all the new acquisitions they brought in. This is a team that is going to look way, way different than they did last year. They brought in Bates, Calais Campbell. They've got Bud Dupree, David Onyemata, Caden Ellis, all on the defensive side. Okudah, Hughes, all new pieces. They have a new defensive coordinator who was the co-defensive coordinator of the Saints the last year. He brought in a couple key pieces with him. So I don't love the number in this game. If it was 3, I'd play Atlanta. 3 and a hook, I'd steer away. I still think Atlanta wins this game impressively, but my real play in this game is going to be the Atlanta defense in some DFS spots.
Do you know what me, you, and Frank Wright all have in common?
Uh-oh. Let's see.
We have never coached a team and won ATS in week 1 of the NFL season.
I love that. All 3 of us together. But the difference between you and me is we've lost a lot less.
Yeah. We're perfect. We're 0-0.
I was going to say, our records are much more pristine. Yeah.
Wright has yet to cover a game in week 1. Burns is signed, but we really don't know how much he's going to play if he's on a snap count. Falcons made some significant upgrades in their defense. Offensive line is elite. I think they're going to have their way running the ball. I use the Falcons in Survivor this year, just this week. And the Commanders. I'm in 2 of them. One of them is the Commanders. The other one is the Falcons. Just because I want to get through this week, and B, I want to leave like these other teams like for
a little bit in the wake.
A little bit.
Okay, Erik, let's keep rolling along. Where do we head next? We go divisional game. We got the Bengals at the Cleveland Browns. This one has been kind of teetering right around the under 3, and now it's actually starting to move in the Browns' direction. It's Cincinnati -1.5 on the road here, over under 46.5. Erik, tell us about divisional home dogs in week 1.
25-13. That's 66% ATS since 2001, which is a huge sample size. And if you make the sample size smaller, the number actually gets better. We need to remember that Joe Burrow hasn't been playing. He's been hurt with his calf strain. Historically speaking, in the small sample size that he has playing, he hasn't looked good this week 1. When he sit out, there's another trend going on that quarterbacks that didn't play in the preseason last year, they were 1-6 ATS. The only one that covered was Lamar Jackson, but he went against Joe Flacco. Yeah. Can you really, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't.
Can you really take that? You have to kind of take that with a grain of salt.
While you're saying that, before you even move on, Burrow in all 3 of his prior seasons has missed or had abbreviated camps, and they've lost 2 of the 3. He's 1-4 against the Browns also. For some reason, Stefanski seems to like either have a good idea of what they're doing or he struggles against their defense. Maybe it's Garrett, combination of things, but keep going.
Also, I have a show I do every Tuesday night where we talk NFL, and I had a former collegiate quarterback on. And the main thing he was trying to get to everybody was Jonah Williams switching from the left tackle where he's played in the NFL and at Alabama to the right tackle is going to take him a little while to kind of like
get comfortable.
Get comfortable. Now they have an elite left tackle in Brown that they poached from the Chiefs. What are the Browns going to do? They're going to move Garrett
over to the other side.
They'll have
just tee off on him, Zadarius Smith.
They'll have Zadarius Smith on the inside,
yeah,
because their interior's weak. I think in the trenches, the Browns have a huge advantage. I think they're going to be able to get to Burrow, and that's important because Burrow holds onto the ball long,
a little too long.
There's a lot of deep routes. You have to let the play develop. Second, flip side of that, Browns, 2 tackles had their worst seasons ever in Wirfs and Conklin, and they're still a top 5 offensive line. I think that offensive line is going to improve because those 2 are going to be better.
And they also drafted offensive tackle Jones in the preseason. He was the best offensive lineman in the entire preseason. I know it's preseason, but again, when I mention these things on the preseason, I'm not using them because I think that means that these players are going to be the all pros, but you just would rather have players looking good than bad in the preseason, always. And this guy only gave up 3 total pressures on 148 pass blocking snaps. So you've got this team, he's not even starting. So you've got this team that's got really good offensive linemen on the bench, and then you've got how many of these other teams that can't even fill their line right now that are already depleted, that are in serious trouble. I think the Browns have one of the better overall rosters right now starting the season as far as health is concerned, top to bottom. Another thing I like in this game, Erik, I'm going to throw in Amari Cooper. He's only in like the 50. Amari Cooper's like 5,800, I think, on DraftKings. For the Bengals, both of their starting safeties left in free agency. So their secondary could be pretty good. These are prospects that are like blue chip. You've got Nick Scott. He's in his first year since playing with the Rams, but they seem to have quality. But their safeties that left, they played in all 19 games and the playoffs last year. So these guys it's going to be brand new for them. I think maybe attack a wide receiver or 2. I know you like Elijah Moore a little bit too on the Browns.
Elijah Moore. I mean, Njoku, the tight end. Browns have a lot of weapons.
They do.
Peoples-Jones
is a good like number 3 or 4 wide receiver.
And then they have Cedric Tillman, who, if he didn't get hurt, would have been a top pick in the draft. He's just chilling on the bench. You know what I mean? He's not even getting any run. This is an elite team with a lot of playmakers. Obviously, it goes back to Deshaun. Is Deshaun going to get back to what he was from 2018 to 2020? I think so. He's one of the best RPO quarterbacks in the NFL during that time frame. Now you're putting him with Nick Chubb back there. This is going to be the best offensive line he has ever ran behind. I think this is the Browns here. I think the Browns are a sneaky team to come out of the AFC.
Erik and I are both on the Browns. Erik, what would be your buy-in point? I know you got this game where it was a little bit better of a line. If you're looking at this right now and you're interested in the Browns, what's your buy-in? Are you fine anything plus money on them?
Yeah, I mean,
Me
like,
too. I think so
right
too. I think if this
now,
is straight or plus, I would just lean like money line-ish, but you still could get 2 here. I might take the 2 and then also take the money line.
Yeah. I mean, I got it at 2.5. Right now, they're at what, +1? I mean, at this point, I would just pay.
Just take money line.
I just take the money line.
If you're playing it straight up. Let's keep rolling along, Erik. We go to the Texans and the Ravens. So the Ravens are a heavy favorite in this game. It's trickled down a little bit. They are a 9.5-point favorite. They're at home. They're playing the Houston Texans. I really think Houston could be very, very improved this year. I like so many of the little things they've done in the offseason, Erik. They could have a fantastic secondary. Starting cornerbacks could pair well with the safety duo they have and the new head coaching scheme. That new head coach is Ryans, who was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. So I think they'll have a strong secondary. They drafted rookie pass rusher Will Anderson up front. So now their defensive front is getting a little bit better. On the offensive side, offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, he's called a young offensive whiz. Houston described it as putting his own twist on the San Francisco offense in Houston. I like the sounds of that. That's pretty good. The offensive line. They gave 3-time Pro Bowler Tunsil a 3-year extension. They traded for veteran Mason, who was coming off a poor year, but they take a swing on him with some upside. They have a 2nd-round pick on an interior lineman, a former 1st-round pick, Howard. They gave extensions to both of their tackles, so they built the offensive line well. They bring in Dalton Schultz as a nice tight end target who has played in 14 games each of the last 3 years, caught 55 passes for at least 570 yards. Robert Woods, I don't know how much he has left, but he's a great guy to have in the room because he's a great route runner. He's an awesome veteran. He's a USC guy. So I don't have anything bad to say about him. A USC guy and a Ram. I love me some Bobby Trees. Erik, at 9.5, is this still a buy-in point for you on the Texans? I know you were on them earlier. No Humphrey for the Ravens, right? And just no Humphrey, no Andrews, and lots of new pieces on their offense.
No Humphreys, no Andrews. I'm looking at it right now. Harbaugh is a favorite, 48%. When it's a 7-point favorite or more, that's still 48%. Dogs of 10 or more, I know I got this at 10, where they're 64% ATS. When it's a road game, that goes up to 70% ATS. And I found this interesting thing. Like, we talk about Mahomes a lot now, how like anything over 3, he kind of struggles to cover. Harbaugh's kind of getting in that range now because he dips down to 46% ATS when that number gets under 3. So when it's like 3 or lower, that's the spot we want to like look to take the Ravens. When it's not that high, you know, that's when we want to kind of look to differ away from it a little bit. First year coaches on the road, 58% ATS in their first game. So
they just dropped under this one, but this was the one that you mentioned when we talked last time. The 10-point dogs or more week 1, 64% ATS. They're not 10 right now. They're at 9.5, but they were at 10. It's more so about the premise of it, right? The big underdogs week 1.
And then we have to look at it like this. How can I word this? Show me one article that has come out positive about this new offense that the Ravens are looking to install. You mentioned it earlier. No Mark Andrews, who historically has been. Now I know this is a different offense, no Andrews, which is brutal. So I just don't know. I think they're going to struggle a little bit. I think they're going to struggle to move the ball. I'm really high on this
Texans team. Yeah.
I bet they're over. I think you can put a little money on Will Anderson to be rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. I think they're going to lean on Pierce. Schultz, historically speaking, you look at Schultzy when, you look at the tight end in the 49ers offense, money. And I think that's what we're going to see here. I think we're going to see them lean on the tight end. A lot of tight end drags a lot. I'm trying to pull it up right now. A spread range thing here when we get over that 7 to see historically how teams are laying over 7 to see what happens to that number. And I'm almost ready with it because I don't think
a nice database he can just plug everything into and get all the info there.
I'm telling you guys, like if you're betting NFL, and I know we have no affiliation with this, but if you're betting NFL and you're not using Bet Labs, I have no idea how you are doing it. Like, because I mean, I'm able to punch everything in and just kind of get everything that I want. So I'm looking at it. Favorite NFL dogs, time period, game number, view list. Game number 1, NFL dogs that are favored, that are 7.5 or more, 35.7% ATS.
So tells you right there, your perception of these teams coming from the offseason is a little too high. Numbers are a little too high. We think the Texans are intriguing. Anything over that 7.5 range. Erik, you were on the right side of the number on the Jags and Colts because you played this a couple days ago when the Colts were +5. Now the Jags are only a 3.5 point favorite here, over under 46. Anthony Richardson will be making the start for the Colts. So we have a rookie quarterback here who doesn't have a whole lot of weapons. Like I think about him and I compare the situation that he's in with a questionable offensive line. I'm not sure about the some of the receivers there. And then I compare it to Stroud, who I think is in a pretty good spot there. But what's impressive about Richardson is his ability to run. And I think early on in the season against a team like the Jags and against some of his first few opponents, until there's a lot of film on him or until you've gotten used to his speed, he may be surprising and he may be able to break off a couple big runs. I think more so you and I are both a little down on Jacksonville this year. Like I'm not just automatically assuming they're going to take another step forward like they did last year. I think some of their success last year may have been a little bit smoke and mirrors. They didn't play the toughest schedule down the stretch. They played a really weak schedule of quarterbacks down the stretch. Josh Dobbs, I think, was about to beat them for the Titans, and he had not had any experience whatsoever. What you still on the Colts at this number, or what would be your buy?
No, the value's gone. I mean, if you didn't get it earlier, I mean, I'm sorry, the value's gone. Here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
My big thing is this. How I look at it is this. I'm a big trenches guy. I look inside the trenches and everything. They lost their best offensive lineman. They're starting a rookie, and their other best offensive lineman is suspended. And the strength of the Colts is their defensive front. I think they're going to be able to get some pressure on Trevor Lawrence. I think they're going to make him a little bit uncomfortable. Would
the Colts be today on DraftKings the Millie Maker's $5 to enter, right? So a lot of people are probably playing a lot of different contests. Do you throw one in with the Colts defense?
You could easily throw one in with the Colts defense. I think that's a great call.
Yeah, they're 2,400, one of the bottom defenses out there. And all you need is one turnover, strip sack, fumble, pick up, boom, 2 or 3 sacks, boom, strip sack for a touchdown, which is very possible with the issues that they're going to have, that Jacksonville will have on the offensive line.
Yep. I absolutely love the Colts here. And you're right. And the Millionaire Maker, you have to think outside the box.
Yeah.
That defense is going to be insanely low owned.
Yep, because a lot of people are just really high on Jacksonville this year and just assume that Jacksonville and Lawrence take that next step forward. And he might, but the thing is, it's already built so much into the value that for us as gamblers, we can't get anything out of it. They're way overvalued this year. So I'm with you. I'm on the Colts side, but at this number right now, if you didn't get the 5 or the 4.5 before, I think you want to stay away because there's really not that much value in here. Let's move to the Steelers hosting the 49ers. Last 2 years on week 1, the Steelers have had some good upsets. They upset the Bills a couple years ago. They upset the Bengals last year. On the flip side, the 49ers have not had that much success in week 1. For them, they will have a really different looking offensive line with a bunch of moving pieces. They will have a quarterback, Brock Purdy, who only played last year a small sample size, and everybody anointed him. And now he's coming into this season, and he's been hurt in the offseason. He hasn't had a whole lot of time to play and to get ready. We have a brand new defensive coordinator for San Francisco. That was their strength. But the defensive coordinator, Wilkes, who did a great job with Carolina last year, it might just take them a bit to get his fingerprints on the defense and the transition from the Ryan's defense to this defense. You have Bosa, who was out for the entire camp. How good of shape is he going to be in physically? And then I just look at the way they match up, right? Just like what you were saying in the game previously, the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive front against a questionable San Francisco 49ers offensive line and a quarterback that hasn't had that much experience. Honestly, this is based on the circumstance, the fact that he's coming back from the injury and the place to play. I think this is the toughest game that Brock Purdy's had to play in his career.
Yeah, I mean,
probably at Eagles is not easy, right?
Yeah.
But my point is he's coming off an injury here, week 1, and I would say playing at Pittsburgh is tougher to play than at Philly. Philly's a better team, but Pittsburgh is a brutal place. Philly's not an easy place to play.
I've been at a Philly game. I mean,
their fans are dirty, man. They're nasty.
Those fans are ruthless.
As far as the teams in this situation, though, home dogs like this, man, give us some of the numbers on Tomlin in this situation, Erik.
All right, so I'm looking at the first thing is we're talking a West Coast team going out to the East Coast playing at 1 p.m., 45% ATS in week 1. Tomlin as a dog, just a flat 65. Home dog, 79% ATS. Oof. My worry point is this. Could San Francisco win a Super Bowl? Yeah. Could they make the Super Bowl again? Of course. But this is week 1. We saw last year they went into Chicago, and in a monsoon, they lost. This team has a lot of new pieces coming in the offensive line. Do they have probably the best left tackle in the game in Trent Williams? Yeah. So what do you do with Mr. Watt? Mr. Watt, you're going to line over the right tackle. You're going to get to Brock Purdy. Like you said, he's coming back from a pretty serious arm injury. I'm not a Purdy guy to believe with, but I do like Shanahan. I do think Shanahan's an elite coach, and that's going to help them toward the end of the season. And he's another coach I like taking as a dog. But as a favorite, he's only 46% ATS. Bosa's coming back. He may only play 10 games.
10
you
snaps.
Don't have Bosa there to 10 snaps, excuse me. You don't have Bosa there to disrupt Kenny Pickett. Little worried about that. I'm a little worried about the DB's ability to guard Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. I think Deontay Johnson is insanely undervalued this week in DFS. Yep. That would be a good DFS guy to look to play. I like the Steelers here. I'm playing the trend. I got it at 2.5. I still like him at 2.
Deontay Johnson was one of the players last year who had that crazy stretch where he couldn't get a touchdown, and it was insane for as many targets as he had. I would not be shocked if you see him get a touchdown week 1 this year.
Yeah, I bet him also at plus 300 to get a tutty.
So, right off the bat, you just feel like it's a major possibility here. I like Pittsburgh quite a bit in this spot. The 2 is still fine. I was able to get it really early in the offseason at plus 3, and 2 is fine. And then I would be in the same situation where I'm playing a little bit of money line here. Pickett and the Steelers looked good in the preseason offensively. I think this is a good spot for Pittsburgh to start week number 1. Let's keep rolling along, Erik. We go Bucks at Vikings. We have the Tampa Bay Bucks with no more Tom Brady and with my guy Baker Mayfield, they are a 4-point underdog in here. So this number has moved a little bit. A couple days ago when you and I discussed it, Minnesota was a 6-point favorite in this game. They're a 4-point favorite here, over under 45.5. Minnesota won 13 games last year. 11 of them were one-score games. They are a team that is ripe for regression this season. Is it going to happen in game one, in week one, right here against Tampa? Is this the spot? Is this the number? Talk to us about how you feel right here at Minnesota -4.
So look, I thought this was going to go the other way. This is
me too.
By me. There's one guy I'll reference a lot, him and Brad, he's probably the only person I talk to more about NFL than you. This is a game he had circled. He locked it in at 7. And it dipped down to 6. And he was giving me grief for not getting it at 7. And when we talked about it, the Vikings are going to be blitzing more.
Yep.
They don't have any good DBs that are going to be able to shut down Evans downfield. And last year, they were the worst team in the NFL defending the slot wide receiver. Who's in the slot for the Bucs? Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's a DFS play that's very sneaky, someone you can look to play his receiving props.
And I told you the same thing. I threw in one for the contrarian play. I threw Baker in one. Yeah. No one's going to be taking Baker in their lineups at all. So you put one lineup where you go Baker and Godwin.
Exactly. I'm down on this Vikings team. I'm down on both these teams. At this number, look, I just play the Godwin props. That's all I do. This is just a pure pass for me. I'm a little disappointed myself. I didn't take the 7 when it first opened up at the 7.
Let's keep rolling, Eric. We go next to Titans at the Saints. We have the number now trickling under 3, and that's key because you and I played this game a few days ago when the Titans were plus 3.5. The Saints are minus 2.5 now. Over under in this game, 41.5 for the Saints. They bring in Derek Carr. Derek Carr comes over from the Raiders. They also have Kamara, who will be out the first couple weeks. So would you look at Javonte Williams as like a safe play or someone to play? The Titans were pretty good against the run last year, though.
Yeah, they were insane against the run. I wouldn't look at oh my God,
Williams.
At Williams. The guy may be worth a shot. Let me see. Would be Taysom Hill to score a touchdown. Because just hear me out. Just hear me out. You have no Kamara and Kendre Miller, the rookie from TCU. It's looking like he's a game time decision. So if he doesn't go, maybe it's some more Wildcat stuff with the Taysom Hill down by the goal line. Maybe I'd look.
I thought you were going to go Chris Farley in a van down by the river. I thought that's where you're going right there.
In terms of this, look, I took the Titans plus the 3.5. Vrabel 60% ATS as a dog, 59% as a road dog. And the thing that stood out to me is this: the Saints are old. They are a really, really old team. They didn't get younger at all, and you lost Davenport, who is their best, in my eyes, key to what they want to do up front. I don't know if the guys that they took to replace him, are they going to be able to do what he is able to do, stopping the run, getting to the quarterback? Number 2, Lattimore is banged up. We've seen this team historically struggle when Lattimore can't play. That's a worry point. And I don't think people realize that this offense that Tim White is going to be implementing is going to be like what the Texans had during the Deshaun Watson days. It's going to be a little bit more downfield, throw the ball a little bit more. And then that's going to open stuff up for Derrick Henry. They're not going to lean on
Hopkins.
Henry. They have Spears, the rookie from Tulane. They can lean on him a little bit. Titans have a little bit more weapons. Titans have improved a lot.
Just right there, compared to last year when they were playing down the stretch with not Hopkins, with no Burks got hurt, they didn't have a Spears, and they were playing without Tannehill. So right off the bat, all of those guys were not playing down the stretch last year. They lost more players to injury than any other team in the NFL did last year.
Exactly. I will say this, though. If you're playing a player prop, playing fantasy, one guy I'd look at, Juwan Johnson. Titans were worse than the league last year defending the tight end. His prop is 28.5. He's gone over this prop 10 out of the 17 games he played last year. Carr has a history of targeting the tight end. I mean, if you're looking to get involved in a player prop or there's like another piece to throw in one of these parlay plays, I think Juwan Johnson would be a good little piece at 28.5 yards receiving.
Let's move to another divisional game. For me, I mean, I definitely like the Titans in this spot. I'm not laying it with the Saints, but again, the number and a key number, this went from 3.5 all the way down to 2.5. So if you didn't get it at the 3.5 or the 3, I would wait and see if you can get involved if the Saints score first or something like that, right? Like you wait in game and see if you can get the better value, because I feel dirty when we have a better number, and you know what I mean? Like you're not going to win long-term in the NFL playing worse numbers when the better numbers were out there.
Live betting is so key now.
Yeah.
You know, you can wait a live number, or you know what? You can just go and you can wait until halftime. Wait until halftime, or you can just play Juwan Johnson. Call it a day.
Play some other way of finding value in this game. We keep rolling along. Erik, where do we head next? Another divisional game. We go Packers at the Bears. And, man, excitement because we got the young quarterback they drafted, Jordan Love, going to start for the Packers today. He's going to make his real debut as their starting quarterback. We've seen him in a few different spots before. And you're out there and you have no veteran wide receivers whatsoever. Your number 1 wide receiver, Christian Watson, is hurt. Your number 2 wide receiver, Romeo Doubs, is a game time decision, right?
Now, important, I hate to interrupt you, important to look at. You and I, when we did our previews on your podcast, That's What G Said podcast, make sure to check that out.
You said this.
Every Friday. We did Romeo Doubs over 500, 550 half yards. You need to make sure you look at the book, because some of these books have in the wording, if they do not play the first game of the season, the bet is voided. So if you follow Gino and I on that, you got to make sure you check your
fine print on the bet on the sites
on that. So look, here's my thing. I said it before.
You like to read a little bit.
In my DFS lineups, I think the one guy that just makes an absolute banger of a play is Aaron Jones. I just think Aaron Jones is the guy that you need to target in DraftKings, FanDuel. You know, we did it in the ParlayPlay. And wherever you're playing, this is the guy that makes the most sense. I wouldn't play him to score a touchdown plus 135. Like I said, I'd play the receiving prop over 22.5. Just because, look, he was second in targets, 59 receptions. No Watson, probably going to line up a little bit more. And this is going to be the true McVay-type passing system that LaFleur wants, a lot of dink and dunk. Number 2, let me ask you this. Look at the Bears roster. Look at the Packers roster. Where do the Bears have the advantage?
I think with field.
You know what I mean? Like,
right? Like, yeah, no, there's not many places. Honestly,
like where?
You're right. Like, you think about
where? It
comes down to Fields, right? It really does come down to, do you trust
the lineman for the Bears? He's out.
And you're 100% right. I think it comes down to, do you trust Fields as a playmaker? Because we've seen him be a playmaking quarterback and we haven't seen it with Love. That's really what it comes down to, right? What we've seen a little bit of versus what we haven't. But even with Fields last year looking good, they lost and didn't cover like 8 or 9 games in a row down the stretch.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, Jonesy is the way to look.
Yeah, I'm staying away from this game one way.
Stay away.
Yeah,
and
from a straight play.
For someone that lives in the Chicagoland area, I really hope the Bears lose, dude. Because just to see
you don't want to hear it.
Just to see the misery, I would absolutely. I want to see the misery of Bears fans.
You want to say they win, and then then the Bears are back, right? That's what you're gonna hear. The Bears are back. We move to another divisional game. We got the Rams at the Seahawks here, Erik. This number has also trickled down a little bit towards the Rams. Seahawks are a 4.5-point favorite in this one. For the Rams, we did hear that Cooper Kupp is out. He's going to be placed on IR for the first 4 weeks at least. And that's what, and maybe it's because I'm a Rams fan and I'm too close to it, but without Kupp, I don't know at all how they can consistently move the ball. That's what scares me. I don't think Seattle should be probably laying more than 3.5. Like, that's probably what this should be, I think. In my head, I just can't see it with the Rams side without Kupp. I need to see it. I wouldn't lay it with Seattle.
When we talked on Thursday, what was the number?
5. What?
And
5?
what is the number? What is the number right now?
4.5. Yeah. That is weird that it moved without Kupp this way.
This is my thing. There's certain teams
you just don't lay the big numbers with.
Yeah, but that just get a lot of hype. And who's one of the teams that's getting a lot of hype this year? Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I think because
they're getting a ton of hype.
They're young, right? So I think because last year they had a good draft, a lot of people think that those picks could take a step forward.
But they're really weak in the interior. I mean, the interior of that offensive line is insanely weak. Look, I think the defense, as crazy as it sounds, I think losing Ramsey is addition by subtraction. I think I got to the point with what was going on there. Ramsey was just too big of a headache.
Sure.
As crazy as it sounds, I think that's addition by subtraction. Seattle.
And they like the young kid in the back. And I think that's one of the reasons why they got rid of Ramsey. They got a young cornerback that they liked last year that started to play really well down the stretch. And this honestly might be like how you are with the Lions. Like, I think because I'm so down on the Rams this year and I'm just not expecting anything from them, I need to see them out there. I think they could be really, really bad moving the ball. But McVay's a good coach. Like,
you and I are completely different, just because like most of these people, when they do these stuff,
they are so high on their teams.
They are so high on your teams.
I know.
You and I
are the total opposite.
Our teams are gonna freaking suck.
I know.
Brutal. I know everything lines up for them, but you know what? This is something we want to stay away from. I will say this. I do think, we do cover DFS in here. I think one of the guys that's a little bit sneaky is either Van Jefferson or Tyler Higbee. I think those guys are going to be leaned on a ton in the passing game. So I would kind of look to them. I think those are some dudes you can kind of look to if you're looking for a DFS play. Higbee's insanely underpriced. Obviously, the tight end position is something that we really need to, monitor. Monitor is probably take a punt on, because when you think about it, what's crazy is who were the top picks?
Kittle,
Kelsey, Andrews,
all banged up.
Waller, Hawkinson. 4 of the top 5
aren't even going to play.
Are out week 1. So I don't know.
And Kittle was questionable.
Yeah.
And he's going to play, but he was we don't know how much we're going to get out of him. Yeah, it's a good call on possibly Higbee there for the Rams for a tight end if you're looking, or even Van Jefferson on a deeper play. We have another divisional matchup here, Eric. We've got the Raiders at the Broncos. Broncos are a 3-point favorite in this one, over under 43. You're driving the rust bus this year. Sean Payton comes in. Any coach will be an improvement on what they had last year with Hackett. They were absolutely miserable. They were last in the league in points per game. They averaged 16.9 points per game. Nothing looked good. It was the first time Wilson had double-digit losses in his career. He had a career-low passer rating, but they bring in McGlinchey as an offensive tackle. Their defense is always very, very solid. This team is a pretty good team. They're not deep. I worry when they start getting banged up. But, I mean, just bringing Peyton in alone, they have to be way, way better than they were last year, right?
Well, you finally have an adult in the room, which is going to help.
Who tells Russ Wilson that he's the guy making the decisions, not Russ.
I know. And here's the thing. I mean, the Raiders are a freaking wreck. You have Jimmy Garoppolo. You have Josh Jacobs, who was late getting to camp for a contract I think he rightfully deserves. You also have Chandler Jones sending out tweets about stuff. It's just there's just a lot of stuff going
McDaniels,
on.
we weren't even sure if he was going to be the coach this year after losing to the Colts last year, right? That game when the Colts didn't even have a staff and they end up losing that game. I'm not on the Raiders. You know what? At 3, I might even be okay laying the 3 with Denver. Like, I wouldn't want to lay 3.5 or 4 where it may have been earlier, but at a straight 3, if I play in a game, I play in a contest where I have to pick the spread of every game, I'd pick Broncos -3 if I was forced to pick one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, I would pick the Broncos here minus the points. Look, it gets down to 3.
Sutton is one of my big play.
Sutton, I think Wilson or Javonte Williams, whichever one you like more, I think is a DFS play. I don't know. I think this game could get ugly fast.
Yeah. Russ Wilson, we're driving that Russ bus this year. Erik, let's continue rolling. Where do we head next? Dolphins at the Chargers. Tyreek Hill was at the USC game last night. He was on the sidelines. Man, it's amazing in just a year and a half how that culture at USC flipped. Because now we've got pros that don't even have anything to do with USC that are on the USC sidelines because that's like the place to be last night, like hanging out with Caleb Williams. Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins were in town to play the Chargers. And this game's really interesting because I'm playing one lineup with a Chargers stack just because some of the points that you made when we talked in the offseason about how different this Chargers offense might look with the new offensive coordinator, because Justin Herbert was forced to be a dink and dunk quarterback quite a bit. And now he's going to be able to throw the ball down the field. I think they're going to take more shots. I wouldn't be shocked if this game actually was kind of a fun up and down game. But in particular, one lineup, I'm going like Herbert, Allen, maybe even Williams. I'm going to do some Charger stacks because I could see him unleashing a few big bombs right off the bat.
Oh, yeah, and going deep. I do think the thing that you kind of have to look at, though, is Tyreek Hill. Just because Jalen Waddle's coming back from an injury. With Waddle coming back from an injury, a lower body type injury, really don't know what he's going to get. So this could lead to a bigger target share for a Tyreek Hill. So in one of my millionaire makers, I am going Herbert, then I'm running it back with Hill because I expect this to be a high scoring game. Also, I don't know, Armstead's out, Armstead not being there, that's going to hurt the ability to protect Tua. Everyone makes a big deal how the Dolphins struggled with no Tua. They struggled with no Armstead. When Armstead wasn't out there, this team was bad, giving whoever was at quarterback time. You have Bosa, you have Mac back there, you have James, who's going to play inside more to look to stop the run. That's going to be one of the big defensive switches. I think the Chargers here, I would definitely lean the Chargers here. I didn't bet it just because I have a lot of action on the game on it, but I would definitely lean Chargers. I can't hear you, buddy.
Same sort of situation with the game we were just talking about. This wouldn't be one of my plays, or this wasn't one of the 5 plays Erik and I had for our 5 plays that we came together with. But if you're forced to pick one way or the other, I would lean Chargers. I wouldn't mind throwing Mostert into a couple DFS lineups because Wilson got hurt and their other backup was a little banged up too. So Mostert might be the only guy there. And the Chargers the last few years have been bad against the run. I think they'll be better against the run. But if you're looking for a right priced back, I think he's in the 5,000 range. So won't cost you a whole heck of a lot to get Mostert in some of your lineups. And he might be the only guy in town, at least this week. There's a look at Chargers, Dolphins, one of the premier games of Sunday. We also get into another big Sunday game. It is Tom Brady Appreciation Day out in New England, and they will be hosting the NFC champions from last year, the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles are a 3.5 point favorite on the road here. I locked this one in at 4 earlier in the week. Some of my thinking, Erik, the Patriots have historically struggled against running quarterbacks, but what's nice is they've had the entire offseason to prepare for Jalen Hurts and this offense here. So Belichick, one of the best at preparing and making you go away from what you want to do on your offense. I think he'll at least have some ideas to make life a little difficult for the Eagles. The Patriots defense is very strong. So I think defensively, they should be able to slow them down a little bit. On the offensive side, we have Bill O'Brien, who comes in as the offensive coordinator to help out Mac Jones. Erik, I can guarantee that you would have done a better job from your chair than Matt Patricia did last year with that pencil as the offensive coordinator. You know Matt Patricia very well. So you definitely know what that was like. O'Brien knows Mac Jones. Like he knows Mac Jones. I think they're going to have a nice, comfortable chemistry together. I think it's a good spot for New England here at home. Could be a close game. Anything over the 3, I was fine with taking the Patriots here.
I agree. I got it at 4. I like it over 3. My thought process is this. Number 1, everyone was wondering, oh my God, the Patriots only have one quarterback. Sports, especially at this high level, is such a mental thing. That was more of a mental message to Mac Jones.
That and bringing in Bill O'Brien, right?
You're our guy. You're our guy. We're doing this to show you that you're our guy. So I think that's important. Number 2, Bill O'Brien, elite play caller, does a lot of 2 tight end sets. I think Mike Gesicki, sneaky DFS play, insanely underpriced.
He's another one of those guys that's a fantastic coordinator, but he just wasn't the greatest head coach, right? Like really good coordinator.
The reason why I think Gesicki is a good play is because the Patriots are having some offensive line issues. He can't.
And there's not been great Juju stuff too.
So now you put Hunter Henry there to help come in and block. Juju, look, he's going to be the number 1. I don't believe this knee thing. I don't believe the reporter. I think he's just kind of looking for some street cred. You're telling me you have a good coach, extended time to prepare, Tom Brady there. To me, this is just completely lining up. Eagles are going to be leaning on some rookies on the defensive front to be making the plays. Hard to trust rookies. And look, I'm not a fan of first-time play callers. They lost their offensive coordinator
and defensive coordinator.
So I'm a little bit worried about that. I think they're going to try to make Hurts beat him with his arm. I like the Patriots here. I locked them in at 4. That plus 155 we're seeing over at DRF is a little juicy too. You can put a little sprinkle on that. But anything over 3.
Would you go Stevenson in DFS at all? I know they brought in Ezekiel Elliott. Stevenson's been a little bit banged up. Yeah.
In DFS for me, give me Gesicki. I'll take Juju because I think Juju is going to be under-owned. And I'll take, oh my God, Thornton, the deep threat. I would look at those if he plays. Those would be the guys I'd look at. Thornton may be out, though. I know he's a little banged up. But that's kind of how I would look at this game.
2 more games to discuss. We've got the night games, Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. Sunday night, the Cowboys head to the Giants, and this number has actually trickled up for us and for anyone that's on the Giants side, Erik. It was in the 3 range. Now it's up to 3.5. That might be some Waller money because questionable about Waller. I think he's going to give it a go, though, at least try to give it a go.
But also, the Cowboys are a popular team.
Like, they're just, as games get closer, they're always going to bump up, right? Yeah.
You're going to want to bet. I look at like this. This is my thing. The Brian DeBoll, insane 10-2 last year ATS as a dog. Jones, 63% ATS as a dog. Home divisional dogs, I mentioned the trend, 25-13, 66% ATS week 1. Primetime, divisional dogs in primetime games, 71% ATS since 2001. Also, Prescott, what was he known for last year? Having bad turnovers, throwing a lot of INTs. They switched offensive line coaches. When you look at this guy's track record as an offensive line coach, elite at run blocking, but whereas his team struggled, pass blocking. So it is possible that Dak could feel some pressure, get some pass rushers in his face, lead to some bad throws. Didn't look too great in the preseason. I don't know what they're doing with Pollard. Look, is Pollard good? Yeah. but he's undersized in my eyes. And with the change in coordinators and play callers, they're going from an outside zone scheme, so that means outside of the tackles, to an inside zone scheme with an undersized running back. I'm a little worried about that for Pollard and for the Cowboys. And then look, with McCarthy calling the plays and him being out of the game for so long, has the game passed him by? Is he going to be behind the 8 ball, not knowing what to do? Look, I think the Cowboys defense is elite, but I'm getting a home primetime dog. Give me the Giants here plus the 3.5.
Yeah, I'm on the Giants side with you also, Erik. A lot of the reasons that you said, maybe it takes a little while for McCarthy to figure exactly out what's working best for Dak. I was never all that high on him either. If this is a game where you're giving me the home team in the divisional game at more than a field goal, and I've got the by far better head coach, I'm going to take it almost every time there. Where the Dallas defense is fantastic, and Jones is just 1-5 against them, but he has 3-3 ATS. I think with the comfortability with Dabble and the running, that could keep any good defense on their toes, having a running quarterback like that. So I'm on the Giants side as well, plus the 3.5. Let's finish up, Erik, with Monday Night Football, another divisional game. This one's a fun one where you have Josh Allen and the Bills heading to play the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, who host Monday Night Football. The Jets have a fantastic defense. The secondary is awesome. The defensive front is great. Where I worry about them is on the offensive line. I really have major concerns there. They have a lot of other a lot of the other units on their team are pretty solid, but their left tackle, Brown, had no training camp after recovering from a rotator cuff surgery. He's now 38 years old. The right tackle is playing on a twice repaired knee. He has not played a complete game since 2020. One thing we know about Aaron Rodgers, he holds the ball a long time because he tries to make plays. That may not be great. But, Erik, when we had our conversations, you were pointing out it may start to impact them maybe next week, maybe week 3, maybe week 4, maybe week 5. The Bills without Von Miller, they may not be able to take advantage of that quite yet.
Yeah. This is a tough game. And look, if this gets to 3, I'm going to take the Jets here. And I freaking hate myself for doing it just because you need a pass rusher to get to Aaron Rodgers, and they just don't have that pass rusher with no Von Miller. Yes, they changed systems. Yes, they have a new DC who's going to look to blitz more. But look, this game has went from a pick'em to the Bills laying points. First game of the season. I don't know. That's a real tough to trust. To me, I'm sitting out. Maybe I'll lean to the first half under. I got to see what's going on in the running back room for the Jets, because the Jets have Breece Hall. They have Dalvin Cook. They have Michael Carter. They have the kid from Pittsburgh who they drafted, whose name I can't pronounce. That's a lot of stuff going on. Who's going to be getting the primary ball handling? Who's going to be getting the love? Also, James Cook, maybe look at some of those like rushing receiving yard combo bets. Maybe look at that. I don't know. To me, this is a tough game. I'm just going to kind of stay away and just kind of use this as a learning opportunity.
Erik, the 5 games that you and I talked about earlier in the week, let me know if the numbers and you're still on these games. Cleveland plus 2.5, they're plus 1.5 right now.
Yes.
We okay on that one still? I agree.
Yep.
Texans were plus 10 when we locked them in a couple days ago. They're plus 9.5 right now.
Yes.
Still okay on that one myself. Steelers are plus 2. They were plus 2. We're still in that range on the Steelers.
Yep.
Titans plus 3.5. We locked them in there. They're plus 2.5 now. That one, I'm not laying it with the Saints, but that's the one of the 5 that I would be the least.
If that's under 3, that's a pass for me.
Me too. I agree. I would want 3 or above. Patriots, we locked in at plus 4. It's still 3.5. I'm fine with above 3.
Yep.
So those are our 5 plays for this week. What we'll do next week, we'll have a segment at the end where we give out more DFS plays, but we kind of talked about them all throughout the games this week.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to do that. But we mentioned in each game who we thought were DFS plays. At the end next week, we'll throw up a couple that we have as our strong DFS plays. But you mentioned Aaron Jones as one that you're going to be really leaning on a lot this week.
Aaron Jones, Javonte Williams, Kirk Cousins.
I'm very high on Sutton this week. You talked about Russell Wilson. Yeah. Sutton's one for me going against a really bad Vegas secondary. We both won the Tampa, Minnesota games. Those are interesting games you might want to take shots on. Even Baker and Godwin. Maybe you have another lineup where you go Evans, maybe a Jefferson and Cousins stack on one. I'd have no problem doing that. Yeah, so there's some of the DFS plays that we have so far, and each and every week we'll be talking some parlay play. We'll be talking the games. We'll be talking props. Anything else on your mind before we get out of here, buddy?
No, we got 50 minutes. Let's order that pizza and make some money, man.
There we go. Good luck, everyone, in week one. Remember, every week now, Erik and I will have a pretty set schedule. On Wednesday night, Erik is going to join me to record for my podcast on That's What G Said podcast. So I will post that late Wednesday night because that will always preview the Thursday game as well, and then all of that week's games. Then on Friday, Erik and I are on the Winning Ticket presented by DRF Sportsbook, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. That show is half college football, half NFL. So the first segment, we give out some of our college football plays. Erik, you did really well yesterday. We both like Texas. That was a nice.
I'm still bitter. You know what? I'm still bitter. I had Texas Tech, man.
That was the worst. My dad and I were watching that game. That was one of the worst beats you will ever see in your life. The guy from Oregon tapped, intercepted, and ran back. Texas Tech was moving down the field like they could have won the game. They were not far away from being in field goal range, and Oregon gets an absolute gift. I literally had told my dad 2 seconds before, oh, my buddy gave this one out, and we were watching it, and I went out to the backyard, and I was in the back, and my dad stuck his head out and was like, oh, my God, that was so bad, and we were feeling for you on that one, buddy. So that's on Friday night, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Sunday, we'll be here at 11 a.m. every week on 11 a.m. Eastern time on Sundays. And then your show, Erik, you also have 2 shows during the week where you talk a lot of football. Plug those real quick.
My stream comes out every Tuesday night. It's live 10 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. This week, my buddy Wade's going to be on there. Him and I are going to look back at week 1, tell some early bets to lock in for week 2. And then I have my podcast that comes out later in the week. My buddy David is going to be on it. Him and I talk about it. We give out 4 bets total. I do 1 player prop, 1 full game. He does 1 half, 1 full game. And my buddy Nick is on there as well. And Nick and I talk DFS and actually build you a cash game lineup, not a millionaire maker, cash game lineup.
Beautiful. So there's so much content out there for you. It's great. All of it's free. Literally Tuesday, you've got Erik's show. Wednesday night, we have another pod that comes out. Thursday, Erik's show comes out late. And then into Friday, we've got the Winning Ticket. And then on Sunday, we're here with you. So all week, we'll be keeping you updated on everything, all the important news, injuries, line movement, anything that's going on in the world of NFL. Make sure to head over to ParlayPlay. .io. Use that promo code NFL Betting Blitz, and you can get some action in just about 45 minutes. Good luck, buddy. You get your pizza. I'm going to get my mimosas poured up because it's still sort of morning over here for me on the West Coast, and talk to you a little bit later on today. Good luck, everyone. The journey begins week 1 of the NFL season.